to another episode of The Diplomats. I'm Go Horns Go. There's no Humble the Heap today, but we have another special episode with MaxVax, a Season 4 Nexus finalist who played Russia and was oh so close to winning the game. So we are here to talk to Max and figure out what went right and what went wrong and let him air out what he wants to say. Max, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay. Oh, and I should thank, even though I get no money for this, our sponsor, diplomacybriefing.com. Go to diplomacybriefing.com or follow the link at the bottom here on YouTube and you can find it. So, Max, I'm looking at the Nexus ratings, which occurred before the finals, and you are listed as the 17th best player in the Nexus diplomacy community. Tell us, how did you get started in diplomacy? How long have you been playing? And how you found Nexus?
Yeah, sure. I've been playing for about 10 years. My friend from Russia and his father, who is like a scientist, used to play back in like 80s and 90s. And so he introduced me in early 2000s, like maybe 2007. I played in Russian community, which had a Diplomail.ru site, and then it recently migrated to web diplomacy affiliate for Russian community. So I've been playing there for several years. And then I had a break maybe for 2 or 3 years. And recently, like this year, I came back to web diplomacy to play several games. And there was a reference to Nexus tournament. So I signed up, and actually I was quite late. So I kept bugging the organizers to enroll me in this third game, because it's actually proven to be very important, because I barely scrambled to get to the final, given I did well in 2 games and got some points in the third. But the important point was to actually play the third game. And so I was able to do that, and I'm really glad. And you know, it's very nice community here on Nexus, you know, pretty competitive. What I was looking for is good quality game. And I would be fair, I did not find qualifiers as competitive as one might think. That's why I have certain opinion about ranking for, you know, sort of great job for pass to win, but I would accept ranking here, what you show in the page, and he was ranked higher than me or Captain Meme, so I accept win over this ranking, probably not over qualifiers, given, you know, different quality of the games. But final was really terrific, and I really felt all players were super good. You know, diplomacy was, you know, level of interaction and, you know, deception and all schemes and letters and everything was really high, and that was really what I was looking for in a game. And if you're asking what was wrong, I can only tell you one thing. I did not order Galicia to Budapest in the last move, and basically everything else was exactly correct for playing Russia.
One order would have won you the game.
Yeah, but I am pretty happy, you know, in all fairness, since I'm new to Nexus, and I'm really happy, you know, this ranking is, you know, I think pretty adequate, and it shows you that, you know, finalists were in, you know, probably all top 17, I guess, or 18, with Bobo just behind me. So that pretty much shows that it makes, you know, some reason here, and really, I mean, I am planning to, you know, keep playing, and hopefully next season, you know, we'll see also good final. And I really did enjoy the podcast you and Humble performed. You know, like, it was kind of fun to sort of listen to how you speculate about things, and knowing some things happening was really, you know, a bit educational too. I do hope that some members of community just listen to it and grasp some concepts, and how you really, basically how you can stay in a game. Even, you know, amazing comeback from Austria by iOSers may teach you something to never give up, even if you have like 2 centers. And basically he was 1 order from death, you know, and I sort of decided not to be a butcher in 03, and he went to 6 with some chances to win. And that probably should teach everybody to, you know, play smart and sort of never give up, as, you know, as traditional it seems. It's kind of a lesson here.
So before we get into game analysis, let me ask you this. What attracts you to diplomacy? What do you like about it? And how would you describe your style since you are new to the server?
Okay, so stop me if it's too long, but I would describe myself as a logical or reasonable player. I did like one time you said something about Iozer style, which Austria plays with whoever willing to collaborate with him because he wasn't able to find the ally. So that's the style I find reasonable. So I do not like certain deception. So I would like to ally with the player when I see a clear path forward for collaboration. I don't like deceptions from get-go from my ally. So I would probably not ally with that person over if I have an option. So basically, if you do have options, I would ally with most reasonable player. And let me be clear, it doesn't mean someone who just plays to your ego and strokes your, oh, you're great or whatever. It's someone who makes certain reason in letters, certain quality of press. And of course, if I don't have a choice, I could ally with anyone, even my worst enemy in a game. So that sort of briefly is a style. And I try to negotiate. I mean, I try not to be super intense. We can get to some styles here in the final. I try not to bombard players with letters, but I do want definitive answers. And that's where, certain styles may conflict when some people, for example, like not saying something, it's honorable for them. Versus for me, I treat, if you didn't say something, I treat it as the same as you lied. Because that basically you meant to sort of stay hidden on that, and I do not accept it was more noble than lying. To me it's kind of similar to like lying. I'll pause here.
So let me ask you this: do you, when you play people in this game, there were Italians, there were Americans. You're of Russian origin. You live in America, and there were Americans. Are there stereotypes that you can make based on where people come from, or do you look at each individual and take them each individually? Does it matter where they're from to you?
I think it really doesn't matter at all. We live in a world, like what you said, I'm from Russia, but I live in America for many years. So I am American by passport, if you ask that. So I did not feel, for example, that, Babu, who played for Germany, had somewhat Italian personality, or Pez, having some different personality. No, it's simply you just judge sort of players for what they are. And, if you can speak English and communicate, that's all what matters in a game. And as you, I think, were saying, all top American politicians used to play that, for fun. And my friend's father, who was a teacher in economics and things like that in Russia, he actually played this game on seminars, and observed how students interact and made certain conclusions there. So that's a really powerful tool, for fun and for education. And so basically having good quality games, that's what's fun for me. And, that final definitely was that game.
Okay. So in this game, I've got the spring 1901 up. You drew your country of origin, Russia. How do you like, not the actual country of Russia, but how do you like Russia in the game of diplomacy? How do you like being assigned that country? And what is your general style?
My general thought, I am okay to play Russia. The famous story, I forgot who, you may probably know that, some guy who can draw a frigate when, you sort of ask what's your favorite country, and, like F for France, R for Russia, and so on. And, you pick the countries you like playing. Obviously, by far, France is the best country to play. It's not to say, that PES didn't do a great job here, but it's the easiest to sort of not get eliminated from get-go, and you have options. So France is for sure my favorite to play if you don't get penalized for drawing France. And Russia is probably my second favorite. So I was pretty happy to draw the Russia as, my country here.
You have to negotiate with almost everybody as Russia in the beginning and get a feel for everybody. This game was played anonymously. I assume you didn't know who was what power until maybe later on.
Yeah, that's definitely true. since I was a new player, I was a little bit surprised later on to learn certain nuances and perhaps not grudges, but let's say history between players. All kinds of things were involved. And I did learn with a lot of help from others who was who, and it actually was correct determination. To me, this didn't really matter. I never played with anybody from this game, so it didn't really matter that I learned that PES played France. It gave me no knowledge other than the fact that I lose to him on a tiebreaker. So it had no bearing. And, I do feel like in retrospect, it was somewhat disadvantaged because there are three key components here. And one was Germany, as Babu, likes to be a little bit vague in his sort of style. And I attributed that a little bit as hostile in the beginning. We can talk about that Sweden thing, which you tried to discuss with Umbol before. And,
Right.
that really predetermined some negativity early on. If I knew that he didn't really mean negativity by doing that, I could have reacted differently. And the second most important was for Turkey, who was Captain Meme. His desire for win was, I underestimated. He did a great job in the last move, but in my calculation, his chances for win were below 0.001%. And I was just miscalculated that, he would probably prefer me over France as a winner. So that was bad on my part for not knowing him. So now I would not make that mistake again, And third was Italy, of course, who's Flint, who's doing super good at terms of ranking. You saw this page before. He's number one and clearly wins a lot. He knows very well how to get over this stalemate lines and things like that. In the final, that skill, unfortunately for him, was not needed. He needed to get France, and that's where he could not get them. And again, he bombarded me with messages, and I kind of a bit negatively reacted. I could have done somewhat differently, and we can talk about it in all three. So with those three things, if I knew the style, I don't know if I would have done something differently, but it would have provided me with more options to consider knowing the people. And by all of them, I were great players. And so, keeping Austria alive perhaps was also smart. So, it's hard to say that I would have done something differently, but it would have given me more options if I knew them a little bit. So that's why I'm glad I learned all six of them, and now I will be moving forward with this knowledge.
Did you have a plan? Did you want to ally with Turkey early or become friends with England or Austria? Tell me what the initial plan was, what your thinking was. You obviously moved south. Tell me what your goals are.
Well, the goal's obviously to just get to learn everybody in sort of do not break any bridges in 01 and get options. So I probably would have preferred to go with Jag, and Turkey was reasonable. If you ask me who was the most reasonable person on this map, that's for sure Captain Meme. Despite the fact I stabbed him at least 2 times, he was still willing to help me, and Umbel was unsure why he helped me in Trieste in 09. We can talk about it, but he was reasonable, and that was the goal, to sort of start new, sort of positive with everybody and see what's going on a map. So here you see traditional moves. I wouldn't see that South move as specific. I almost never open North as Russia because that requires certain specific negotiations and certain knowledge about Germany and England. And if none of this present, which was the case for me here, that South opening is traditional for Russia, and there is nothing specific about it. So I just open kind of neutral, talk to everybody. Obviously I got a feeler who is most reasonable. At that time, I realized, Italy talks as much as everybody else combined. And so I sort of, kept that in mind, tried to be positive with everybody, and was surprised PES was kind of quiet with me. So that 01, I really learned that, I had options for allies such as Turkey, potentially Italy, and of course my goal in the South, if you ask in the 01, I prefer to ally with England as Russia, and that I hoped would be the possibility, and we can talk what worked and what didn't work later on. But in a way, I was a little bit difficult to negotiate with Austria. He was insisting on this bounce, and which is fine for me, but it's not always great. Like I know you discussed this Hedgehog opening. It's okay opening, but it limits Austria with this Greece, and that's actually almost proven his downfall. So he needed to find a friend, and by not trusting anybody, he was not able to find any friends. Like he could have, like in retrospect, I had nothing against Austria. So if he would have said, let's hold and not go to Galicia, I would have done that. And perhaps that would have been better for him than simply bouncing. So I'll pause here. And
Sure. And what did you think about England's moves? Clearly, it looked, England opens up in a typical anti-Russian opening with no worries with France at the beginning. So how concerned are you at this point?
I was not concerned. I was a little bit surprised because obviously the better move would be to Yorkshire instead of Edinburgh. But I do understand that this gives you options. Like in a way, you can take Norway with a fleet and convoy to Belgium or Denmark, and that was totally fine for me. I did talk to him after, if you go like in the fall, Germany basically, you kept talking about it with Umbel. He did not confirm Sweden. I asked him 20 times, and he probably thought I'm being, bugger, like asking, hey, are you gonna give Sweden? No. He kept thinking, oh, maybe yes, maybe no. So basically, once I got fed up of him being like not upfront, I tried to push for convoy to Denmark. I don't know, perhaps Superstition already told you, did he tell Babu that he will go to Denmark and that's why he held there, or whatever happened? I do not regret move to Baltic. Yes, it's a great hold to deny Sweden, but he did basically create an enemy by not telling me that. If he would have told me, you know what, I'm not giving you Sweden, that would have been better in our relationship. I would have probably went to Baltic, but at least I would have respected him more for telling. So that damaged, like this simple hold and not being upfront with me, damaged our relationship. And if not England betrayal, Germany would have probably been dead or at least out of contestants earlier than 2010. I mean 1910. So I
Superstition told me he wasn't sure that Denmark would move to Sweden, but he thought that would happen, and that you and England worked out a deal where you go to Baltic, and he thought he would take a chance. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, I think so. That's fine. I think he was a little bit too talkative with Germany. He asked him too many times, basically, about, hey, block Russia, whatever he did. He should have been a little bit more quiet and just, kind of like mention once or twice, block Russia and don't push for it. And then Babu would have probably blocked me there, and he probably convoy would have succeeded. So I don't know. They kept playing Western Triple. Like, sometimes they would go Western Triple, then FG again. So I was sure, like, to me, in early 02, it became super clear that, FG seems a little bit weird with this Burgundy move and then back to Munich. I did not understand it at all because I would have at least covered Belgium. So that's why I thought that's something funny there. Huge trust by France to Germany, which was totally unjustified. And when Germany did stop him in Burgundy, he did not take Paris. And that was very surprising. And since then, I was very cautious of potential Frankland. And I really offered to England everything I could. I offered him Denmark. I offered him Sweden. He told me himself that, we can exchange to Norway. He was telling early in AAR that I demanded Norway. No, he just told me, hey, are you gonna get Norway once I get Denmark? All I said, okay. I never pressured. I actually did not even mean to fight or demand it, but he somehow still decided to stab me. So that's okay. I mean, certain misunderstanding. My rationale was to not bug him about it, to not like mention it so that he does not attack, but in a way it bounced back and he thought I really demand Norway. That's okay. My motivation was really to break FG because it was kind of the strongest alliance on the map. And so I did everything in my power, and all I could do is basically make England strong. And that's what I was planning to do. So go ahead.
So as we look at fall 1901, I mean, you take Romania, which is normal. You don't get a second build, but you have to be excited that France has moved against Italy in the sense that now Italy has a diversion, right? And that's good for you on the other side of the map. I understand you want to break up FG, but I think this is a positive development for Russia in some ways.
I mean, it's probably true to me, it didn't really matter if Italy was pressured or not. I probably would have preferred that he wasn't pressured that much, because move from Mao to West Mediterranean in 01 is really unheard of. And I mean,
Right.
kudos to PES executing it here. Really cool, trying. Like I said, it's hard for me to understand the rationale for that, to open so much to Germany. And that step was supposed to happen, and it would have probably destroyed PES if, Burgundy went to Paris. So I don't know if, in retrospect, you can say we all can be great, masterminds and say, well, he won, that was a great job. But, probably in 9 or 8 out of 10 other times, that would have proven to be his downfall. So I was kind of excited for this kind of unusual moves, but I wouldn't say that I was, oh, great, Italy is pressured. Because, I probably would have preferred Italy fight Turkey. And actually that proven to be a kind of nuisance later on, when Italy-Turkey formed some sort of alliance, and I was supposed to play third party in it, which was okay.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right. I mean, all the reasons you said France is such a good country to play, PES gave up all those advantages, the defensive position that he gets, to place his units here. That is a very interesting problem. But he did get 2 builds. You build in Moscow, which makes sense, I guess. You weren't pressuring England. You weren't worried. You could move it there if you wanted. And then let's go to spring 1902. Tell us what's happening here.
Well, with Turkey, we obviously arranged bounce in Black Sea. We kept arranging it. And as we keep going, even when I stabbed, that was supposed to be arranged bounce. So south is typical. Here, as you can see, Turkey, Italy, and Russia arranged certain things in Austria. It took a lot of convincing for Italy to actually throw Ionian to Greece, because if you see otherwise, Albania would have, end up in Greece. So we didn't want that. So I actually tried real hard for that to happen, and I think Captain Meme as well. Because, I don't know why Italy decided it's a great idea, because, Turkey, of course, demanded Greece later on. So it was sort of temporal solution for Italy, but he committed to that himself. He organized, in a way, Russia, Turkey, Italy alliance, and he wanted Austria dead as soon as possible. That's why he was mad at me for not killing him. We'll get there. And, on the south, I was cautious of Germany, like I said. I tried to tell England, okay, Sweden is yours, take it. And thankfully he did. He didn't go for St. Petersburg. He went to Sweden. And Denmark was his too. And I told him, yes, I'm happy to support you to Denmark. Convoys there, I'm ready to support. That's what I keep telling him. And Livonia was kind of like a cover. Sort of, my idea was to drag army to Prussia there or convoy it somewhere. So like I kind of moved it there as a good position. And Warsaw to Galicia. Finally, Austria decided to sort of, trust me on DMs, not going to Galicia. But of course, at that time, we already formed alliance with Italy and Turkey. So I went there and I tapped Budapest. We killed the Serbian army, and the next move.
How did Austria know that? I mean, it was clear that Austria. I mean, you got a little lucky there that Austria had to cover Trieste, but were relations between Austria and Italy so bad then that you knew that Venice would move to Trieste that Venice would move to Trieste and Vienna had to cover? I mean, because you sort of walked into Galicia there without a third bounce.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I got tired of Austria bouncing me in Galicia. The rationale was like this. He kept asking, oh, what do you suggest? And I say, let's DMZ Galicia. He's like, oh, no, let's bounce there. Okay, why do you ask? Then propose, let's bounce in Galicia. He first would ask what to do, but then would reject my proposal to DMZ it. I would have honored that in year 01. I was too tired to, keep bouncing in 02. At that time, I prioritized Turkey or Italy. So since Italy formed alliance with Turkey, so I was sort of okay to play both sides. So I'm like, yeah, guys, okay, I'm with you. So I did not need Austria at this time. So the train have, already left. So he failed to find an ally here early on. He thought I would be the one, but unfortunately I already had a better option in my hands. So yes, I worked in Galicia because he trusted me, because he didn't have any choice anymore. Unfortunately, I was not interested anymore to trust him because I didn't need to. So like
the Baltic move to Berlin, was that in case Berlin moved to Prussia,
yeah,
as opposed to moving to Kiel?
yeah, it was to just you know, in case he moved somewhere, he would have, you know, having hard time kicking me out because he would have had all units needed to be in place. So I kind of didn't expect it to succeed, but yeah, just to put some pressure. Again, Germany at that time kept saying, "Oh, it's funny. I left you Sweden, but you didn't go there. I think it's funny." And I said, "You know what? I don't find it funny at all. You never confirmed Sweden. You get what you get. You know, Fleet in Baltic is a bad sign for Germany. I don't know why he thought it's really funny. I mean, we were able to sort of make up later, some relationship later on, but he brought it upon himself. I think it's a huge disadvantage for Germany to allow a Russian fleet in Baltic. And you know, all he had to do is just send me to Sweden. You know, somehow lie to me that he will let me and I would go there or whatever. But he should have really, you know, played like basically he thought it's very honorable to like not tell, and it's kind of great idea. I don't like that. Again, if I have an option, I would not ally with such a person who plays enigmatically. You know what I mean? Like he never.
I do.
So okay, so that's
He never revealed his hand at all, or gave you enough. And you know, it's hard to trust at that point.
yes, yes. And I mean, again, if you have option, of course, if you have no options, you can ally with the devil. But you know, if you have options, and like I said, Captain Meme was great at that time. We were like totally fine. Of course, he told me that he sometimes wanted to go to Romania or whatever, but that's fine. But he was reasonable, and Italy was reasonable despite number of messages. So I had my options open, and I did not need Germany as a friend. And considering this move, you can see Burgundy to Munich. At that time, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? We got to kill Germany. So that was sort of my plan with England at that time.
It looks like it might even succeed there because France doesn't like Germany. France helps England into Belgium. Germany didn't press his advantage. You move into Prussia. It didn't end up being that way. That move to Burgundy was quite unusual.
Well, I mean, I would say more unusual was move out of Burgundy. So I was convinced here that France and Germany are still allied, despite the Belgium and despite whatever, because France built 2 fleets. He put fleet in a channel. He had the position on Italy. He was going to get Tunis sooner or later. I knew that France will stay allied with Germany. At least it was my sort of intel and sort of thinking from my diplomats. So I never believed that England will ally with France here or something like that. I considered that Germany will stay allied with France after Burgundy moved out. And I was sort of proven right. And my goal was to reduce that alliance, sort of not to kill Germany, of course not, but to sort of reduce the influence of FG. And the way to do that was the only way I could think of, is to make England stronger and to sort of ally with him long term. That failed, as you would see next move.
Well, yeah, as we see, but let's talk about the south here. You take Budapest, you finally had enough of Austria, and it's looking at this point very good for your Italy, Turkey, Russia alliance.
Well, it does look okay with small caveats that, Turkey, and you guys were talking about it correctly, if Turkey gets to 5, he is in a stronghold in a corner. If he gets to 6 or 7, he has pretty good position, and he had no enemies. Basically, I had to decide what to do, because Italy had his hands full with France, and France wasn't backing out. So basically, Italy would never attack Turkey. So Turkey could probably walk into Italian lands. And at that time, it was important to decide what to do. Right here, the move you're showing. Italy here bombarded me with 10,000 messages to tap Vienna. In fact, what he wanted me to do, not only to support him to Trieste with Budapest, also tap Galicia to Vienna. So in retrospect, what I could have done, of course, is go Galicia, Vienna with support from Budapest, and his move would have also succeeded. Thereby, Austria would have been dead by end of 2003. He, however, wanted me to do more than just tap. He also wanted support. He kept asking. I was a little bit tired of this kind of, I understand that Italy was pressured by France, but That's between them. Peskin described why he thought it's a great idea to attack Flint from get-go. Perhaps, Flint actions in some other games or whatever justified that. It's winning strategy, as we can see. But, Flint didn't do anything in this game to convince me that I'm supposed to help him, because he was very intense. And again, I had other options. So I had very reasonable Captain Meme. So I thought if I take Bulgaria in the next move, I will be able to sort of somehow repair the relationship with Turkey if I need to later on.
Is that why you built here in Moscow and not in Warsaw? For the eventual moving south towards Turkey?
No, the Moscow build was simply, I could go anywhere, right? I could go to Ukraine or I can go to St. Petersburg. So Warsaw, my idea was not to ramp up the kill and attack on Germany. It's very hard to kill Germany with all his armies over there. All I wanted to do is support convoy to Denmark. So as you can see, my huge success was that triangle in Liverpool. So that was my I bombarded England the best I could. And I think Italy and everybody else did too, because you guys said correctly, fleet in Liverpool was terrible. If he meant to attack Russia, he was not supposed to build fleet in Liverpool. If he meant to attack France, he was not supposed to build army in Edinburgh. I don't know what was superstition thinking, why was it a great idea to attack both of us, but I was okay with army in Edinburgh. He told me he's building it. I was again hoping he will convoy to Denmark. That I was given that support, as you can see here. So I was totally fine with Army Edinburgh. I was like, yeah, great, build it. If fleet in Liverpool, you build? He's like, yes. I'm like, totally fine. Yeah, build army. We will convoy to Denmark. You ready? He's like, yes, I'm ready. And then boom, he executes the moves you can see here. I don't understand what possessed him to sort of exchange St. Petersburg on Sweden. It's no gain and it's no benefit. And then you have no friends. So by this, he, jeopardized the relationship with France. Maybe he meant Germany, but Germany could only help against France. And considering that weirdness of their collaboration, I don't know how much he knew that they may or may not stay together. But I would be very cautious as England at that time to attack Russia, who was his only ally up north and was supporting him. And I was ready and I was clear that I'm going to support you. I did not even need Berlin. I did not ask for reparations. I did not ask for Norway. I did not ask for support to Berlin or whatever. I only provided supports. And I said, I will support you everywhere you want against Germany. Good? He's like, yes, good. And then he does these moves. I don't understand it. That was a huge disappointment for me in this game. So my A was ruined right here.
Right, because the Finland move. Obviously he's now attacking France. He's attacking Russia. We criticized this move many times, and I think even in our final podcast, we said this was England's downfall, that and the failure to make a build later on. But what Superstition said in his interview was, long term, he thought, based on his discussions with you, that if he got into Denmark, you would be taking Norway, and he ultimately didn't want to do that. And what I hear you saying is, no, you never forced that from him. There was never any concession. That was just a figment of his imagination.
Well, okay, I can clarify if that's helpful to listeners.
Sure.
He said, hey, if you support me to Denmark, I will give you Norway in exchange. It was his speech. And all I said to the something in a way is, oh, okay, great. I didn't want to sort of make a big deal out of it. Yes, if he would have offered it to me, I would have taken it. But I never made that initial request, because that doesn't make any sense. He has Sweden. Yeah, if I'm in Norway, that will create tons of tensions there, for Sweden, for North Sea, whatever. And I wasn't secure to have any units there because he can take it any time. So I don't know what was his thinking. I thought that he's the type of player who doesn't like lengthy conversations. So he was like pretty reasonable, to the point kind of, person. And I didn't want to bother him. Like sort of Italy bombarded everyone with his letters, and you can see he didn't get any friends. So I did not want to become like Italy. And so maybe mistake here, I should have clarified to England. So it was some miscommunication involved in a way that he thought I demanded, even though he would go back and read, he suggested that exchange. And, you know, as Russia, would you say, oh, no, 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 keep it? Yeah, I just said, oh, fine. So I was like trying to be like not putting any pressure on this. Somehow in his mind, it became, oh, yes, Russia demands Norway. Totally fine. I understand where it's coming from. But, you know, if he were to pay a little bit more attention on the communication, he would have seen that he suggested that first. I never sort of pressured it. And you know, maybe I'm wrong and I mentioned it somehow, but in a way, I never brought it up, sort of like, okay, I'm supporting you now, make sure you give me Norway next move or whatever. None of that was ever happening. And so, again, that's sort of, so that message, yeah, where, does it say something?
Yes, yes, yes. If you see this message, England sent me this message. He said that you sent this to him before these moves. And he said he was trying to find a friend with either Germany or France, and you were trying to lobby him. But the funny thing here is the very last line. Let's make sure one of us here wins this, or one of you. At least. So he took that to mean like you were in it for you only and not to try and help him.
Well, he wasn't sincere. This message was sent to England and Turkey. So he does not show it here. So he's not sincere. If he said something about this message to only England, he wasn't being open or sincere, which I don't know why it's an AR. This message was sent to England and Turkey. And so if you look at this, I try to understand, because Italy was actually instrumental to uncover this FG alliance, and he told me, you know, that it could be like, you know, kind of very secure alliance they formed. So he brought up this hard brotherhood and stuff. I knew nothing. I knew nobody in this game. So all I put here is what Italy told me, or some other countries, you know. So I'm trying sort of to prove my case here, and I'm saying that one of us means, or one of you means you England or you Turkey. So I mean, like, I prefer to be a winner non-France or Germany. That's what I was saying. Again, not to sort of, you know, to deny that I wrote it, but it was sent to Turkey and England, not to only England. That's why this last line makes a little bit more sense if you think about it.
It makes a lot more sense when he's talking about, I understand much better. Okay, 2 questions about this. The hold in Moscow, it ends up being very helpful to you. Did you think something might be happening up north, or do you wanted to preserve your options north or south with the hold?
Yeah, I think you guys, when we analyzed podcast, said it correctly. I just wanted to make sure I have ability to cover Sevastopol if I need to, because if I were to move it to Livonia, I would have no option of that. So that's the only reason.
All right. Second question. When Italy is pressuring you to support him into Trieste and to tap Vienna, obviously you go for Vienna, and you do it in the right way. Otherwise, you would have lost Budapest. My question is, were you honest with Austria honest with Italy that you were not going to support him into Trieste, or did you lie because Turkey here stabs Italy and takes Serbia?
Okay, so there were a lot of communication at this time. So when I was saying what I said about Italy earlier, I meant next move in the fall. Here, he knew what I'm doing. He knew that I'm going Galicia to Vienna with support from Budapest. There was no reason for me to lie to Italy. And I don't lie for no reason. You know, and yes, he probably already told you that I lied to him. Later on, we can talk about it. The point here for the spring, yeah, we all continue Russia, Turkey, Italy alliance. And I moved exactly what we discussed. I'm thankful to Turkey that he was okay not to bounce in Black Sea so I can cover Romania. And he was okay with that. And that was good. So here was all according to the plan we designed. Italy agreed, Turkey agreed, and we all moved according to that plan here. It just was not sufficient, as you can see. Well, now you already moved to next move. So here, basically, what happened is.
Well, hold on. You said it all went to plan. Are you telling me it was part of the plan for Italy to lose Serbia?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see now. Well, part of the plan as far as Italy and Russia discussed. Here was a lot of discussions. I discussed with Turkey separately and with Italy separately. And Italy kept telling me to attack Turkey. I'm like, how can I do that? What do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do now? I'm in Galicia, in Budapest. I tell you, if you want Turkey to stay at 5, actually at 5, right? You need now to move against him. And I will stay with you. I said, if you move against Turkey, I will support you, but you have to do it yourself. And he's like, no, it's too early. I don't want to move against Turkey. I'm like, well, man, you decide your fate yourself then. Thank you very much. Because he, again, wanted to sort of use Russia's hands to help Italy in some plans. Again, I think sometimes you have to make your own decision. So if you want to help yourself, you have to do it yourself. Yes, if you think you're a great diplomat and can convince Russia to play for Italy, great. Maybe in qualifier games you can and you make a win. Unfortunately for Italy here, it's not the case for the final. You have to play for your country yourself. And I told him of a good moveset, and he knows that, to attack Turkey. And we had discussed it at length. He rejected it. And, I don't know if he already told you. I need to listen to the podcast.
No, I haven't talked to him yet.
Well,
I assume it would have been help going to Greece.
Yeah. So basically, we discussed at length about how we can, attack Turkey here to preserve Italy at 4, because he pretty much knew. Well, he now says Turkey stabbed him. Perhaps he did. I don't know exactly what Turkey told him, but in a way, when he did get Serbia, it was pretty clear that Turkey would want it. Like, where did he think Turkey would go? Well, of course, Italy sent him on me, and Turkey told me so. But, again, if you consider you're a great diplomat and can try to send countries to go how you think, but it's not really practical for Turkey to engage Russia early on, and it's not practical for me. Perhaps it almost proven my downfall, because Turkey was a great, tactician, and later I almost died. That weird move when I lost 3 centers on south proves that. It's a miracle I stayed in the game. So it was in a way mistake in this fall move to go against Turkey. I think that was my mistake. But here in this move, Turkey just took Serbia. Italy considered it a stab, but he brought it upon himself. And I don't know why he was so upset about it. It was pretty much obvious that something like that would happen. And I did tag.
All right, so
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, we got to speed it a little along here,
Sounds
Max. Here we go on the fall moves. Was this arranged? Did you know that Turkey was moving to the black?
Yes, I did. So it was, I told him that I moved to Black Sea, and he said he may consider moving to IXC or to Black Sea. I'm like, okay, fine. So I pretty much knew that he will not move to Bulgaria. And so I think that was my main mistake in the game right here. I should have just taken Vienna, because I knew at that time Austria became, kind of reasonable. And I, for some reason, decided to let him leave. And, in retrospect, it was okay, quite fun. He did some fun things later on and get to 6, so it was a good game. But in a way, I think I should have just stayed allied with Turkey and taken Vienna. I would have gotten the same build. And also Italy wouldn't be mad at me, because Italy was mad at me until the end game for that move. Because I did say, okay, but he kept bombarding me. It was Sunday. I was with my family. I could not take his intensity. You know what I mean? And so...
well, he's a lawyer like myself. So we like to win, and we try to be as persuasive as possible, but sometimes you push too much.
Yeah, and I think, given it's a final, like I said, I think in qualifier you can probably do that. In a final, only you can decide your fate. Sometimes you have to be decisive yourself. I think he lost the chance last move, and that he brought it upon himself. I did attack Turkey as he wanted, so that was kind of okay. I think it was a mistake, but Austria was alive, and Italy was at 3 now as a result of that.
Okay, and in the north, Superstition said that this was all arranged, and that you had agreed to all of this. That he tried to make up with you, but he felt like he had lost your trust.
Well, just really briefly here. Unfortunately for Superstition, like I said, I try to say I'm a reasonable player. Please explain to me why is it a great idea for England to exchange St. Petersburg for Sweden and basically taking home center from Russia, you lose goodwill of Russia, which you had in your pocket. You had my goodwill, like you had 100% goodwill of Russia in this game. And by taking St. Petersburg, you made it 0%. So I don't know why it's a great idea for no benefit. It's not like he's killing me, destroying, and I cannot really say anything. Yes, he took it with the fleet, but I did tell him openly, that's okay, but it's really like maybe like 10% improvement over the armies there is in my eyes. We discussed.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so that's why we can briefly skim through like whatever happened later. He lost my goodwill, and Germany became a bit more reasonable, and my hope became to linger as long as I can until one or the other betrays in FG. So that was my goal after that. Plan B became, as you put it, to work with whoever will work with me and linger long enough until France betrays Germany or Germany betrays France. So that became my plan B, and until end game, I tried really hard to execute it.
Now, you must have lost a lot of goodwill with Turkey here, obviously. Tell us about the relationship at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he played nicely. You know, obviously, he tried to hide his annoyance with that. He said, yeah, it's okay, whatever. He clearly planned a lot with Italy. Italy, unfortunately, I underestimated how much of a grudge Italy would hold for me not tapping Vienna in that move. He kept coming back to it and, you know, being really kind of vindictive about it, which I do not appreciate. I do hope, and I consider the matter closed. You know, again, lesson learned. I told you 3 things right early on, which I learned. So that was one about it. Turkey, proven good tactician. He almost destroyed me with help from Italy. And luckily, I got Scandinavia in the other move. And so basically, I tried to make up with Turkey. If you scroll, like, I mean, basically, one time he held in Smyrna. And again, that was a time, again, we arranged to hold. And I, again, betrayed him and entered Armenia.
All right, well, we'll get there. All right, so you build in Sevastopol, which makes sense. Oh, by the way, since you're Russian, what is the correct pronunciation of Sevastopol?
Yes, Sevastopol.
Sevastopol.
Sevastopol. So it's a soft L too, so Sevastopol. But, you know, usually international say Sevastopol.
Sevastopol. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, here we go, which is England in the north says this is all by design, except you wanted him to move to Finland, and he just couldn't do that. He said he had to move to Gulf of Bothnia.
Yeah, it was all arranged fine, but like I said, he lost my goodwill, and Germany sounded pretty sincere. Again, let me be understood. If I have options, I pick what I think is best. And at that time, I favored Germany over England, despite the fact of things with Sweden in 01. I do not tolerate taking my home as seas lightly. So England needed to do more. Like, if he wanted to make up with me, he should not have taken St. Petersburg at all, defended Sweden, and then we would have been fine, and he would be in Denmark by now, by that move. He did not decide to do that. Taken with his fleet was a weak attempt to make peace, and I did not buy it. Yes, we tried to...
Yeah. So and what's going on in the south?
In the south, I was trying to sort of be peaceful to Turkey. I almost let him kill the fleet. I sent a lot of stuff about let me through Con with that fleet and I'll play for you, whatever. I knew he wouldn't buy it. I kind of meant that fleet to be killed. Unfortunately, also, I underestimated Italy here, that he would help. Next move, basically, I lose Serbia, right? And also I lose Budapest because Austria goes there. And at that time, I was pretty mad at Austria. At that time, I thought, oh, why did I leave him alive? You know, one of my weaknesses, I usually don't play a butcher. And so that final kind of taught me a small lesson here. Like, I basically, in retrospect, I did not see huge value to keep Austria alive. I thought first that, you know, as a smaller country, he may be grateful that I kept him alive. Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't play that. He wasn't as type of a player who would be grateful. He just played by your tactic. You know, whoever would be playing for him, he would ally with them. That's why I could not get good ground on him later on. So
okay, and it makes sense, but you obviously did. there was some speculation on the podcast that you may have let Austria into Budapest, even though you were, you know, having problems elsewhere. But you're saying you did not think he would do that.
Well, he said he won't do it, which I could not defend it. So he knew I'm not going to defend it, but he told me he wouldn't go there. So again, I don't respect, so to speak, people who lie just for the sake of lie. So he knew I'm not going to defend it. And so he could have just said, you know what, I'm going to take it. But he didn't say that. That's why he lost kind of a lot of respect from me by just not saying it. And you can argue, oh, wait, you could have bounced with Serbia or whatever. That's true, but it's less likely I would have done that. So I, again, appreciate players who are a bit open. You can plan a scheme around, but you have to be honest with your main ally. And again, I told Austria many times in this game, if you copy my letters to Turkey, I probably don't appreciate that. You know, because you don't copy messages on the ones you plan to execute. You can copy anything else or like write in your own words, whatever. But if you copy main message, the one, it's our main plan, well, I know that then you're not with me. You know, that's maybe naive a little bit, but, you know, you don't simply copy messages from other country if you want to keep them as your main ally. If you want to keep your options open and whatever, but I am, you know, of this type. I don't take lightly copying messages. I think that's not the best tactic, and it should be only taken on rare occasions.
So, and it had to have, you just must have felt crushed at this moment in the game.
Well, as you can see, I succeeded for North. I was amazed that I succeeded in Scandinavia. So I was actually -1, right? So I think I kept at 6. So I stayed in the game and I was okay. So I lost all Balkans, and it was a new era here, which, you know.
Right. You got to start over.
Yeah. So Austria was at 3. Italy was at 3 with Serbia lingering there. Germany, of course, built that fleet, which I did not like. But, you know, overall, I didn't have much of a say. Next phase, if you skim quickly, England decided to be suicidal and went all against me, which, again, right. I didn't appreciate. I know he went that I betrayed him or whatever. He should have understood that, you know, the best way to survive, he had, okay, let's be clear, he had 3 centers left, all his home centers. Go ahead, defend them, and you may be able to defend. Yes, you might have died, but it would have been noble death. But what he did was super weak, and I don't appreciate, especially not building the unit and sort of trying to give the game to France. That's not the level of the final. That's unfortunately, I cannot sort of respect the player for that. You build and you defend your own homeland. That's the idea. Yes, he tried to live in Scandinavia, but the survival was supposed to come on his island, not in Scandinavia. And he knew that, yet he still decided to try to survive in Scandinavia. Okay, fine by me. It didn't work. That's fine. That's the end of it.
All right. So here we go in the fall of 1905. And I want to ask you about the hold in Smyrna. This is a massive advantage for you. Do you think this was did Captain Meme do this intentionally, or was there a mistake?
No, he did it intentionally. I'm sure he will tell a lot of bad words about me when you interview him. That he told me he tried to trust me second time, and second time I betrayed him. Well, my motivation was to get there. Like, I understood that Turkey is in a good position. I was not getting anywhere with him. So I thought, you know, if we could negotiate some sort of hold, maybe I can, you know, get an upper hand at him. And so it was successful, and that gave me chances because, you know, I was at 6 and actually not even clear if I was at 6 because of some tactical mistakes up north. So Germany, thank you for that, helped me back into my centers in Scandinavia. And by going to Armenia, I uncovered some options for me to stay like at 6 with potential like at 7 because I needed to stay competitive. So idea here was to just, not the idea to betray Turkey or whatever or kill him. No, simply was to get me options for, you know, having some positions where I can talk to people. You know, it's pretty clear.
You told him you were holding.
Yeah. It was arranged, you know, hold, and I lied, as you can say, and I entered Armenia. Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, Austria is beginning to come alive, but you're still, you still got some options, and here I don't understand the hold here from Smyrna.
Okay.
I mean, he guesses 50-50, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
I will reveal the story here. There were a lot of discussions. To summarize quickly, Italy was pro-Turkish at that time, and he told me, hey, by the way, secret, Smyrna will be open this move. I'm like, okay, great. But then Austria came with messaging that, oh, you know what? Turkey actually tells me that I can enter Romania, and I will accept that, okay? But in the fall, you take Romania, I will take Bulgaria. Good? I'm like, okay, but how are we sure we can do that? He's like, oh, yeah, he will hold in Smyrna. I'm like, oh, okay. So I evaluated these two letters. Italy was saying Smyrna will be open, and Austria was more honest, and clearly he knew what he was saying. And that was one interaction which I thought, oh, wow, maybe it was good merit I kept his life for Austria. So he went into Romania, and I decided to still go Sevastopol to Romania. Yes. I watched too much of your podcast, right? So anyway, so I did put that move, which we knew would be useless, but that's to distract everybody. So I knew that Austria will enter Romania. I suspected, let me say, but as we see, he did. And so since I probably could have entered Armenia, but I decided that's more important to sort of keep the game, sort of keep the lie, because again, my goal was not to kill Turkey. And you might have said, oh, Sevastopol should have went to Armenia if I was pretty sure I would end up in Ankara. But I wasn't 100% sure, and so I decided for this move set, which in the fall basically gave me my 7th build for Romania. So he kicked me out of Ankara, but he lost Bulgaria and Romania.
Correct. All right, and so now explain what's going on. You take Romania. Tell me what's going on negotiation-wise.
Yeah, negotiation, like I said, Austria told me all this. And so basically we knew that Bulgaria will be open because he will have to cover Constantinople, because he probably, wants me out of Ankara. And the only way to do that is to cover Constantinople. So basically that means Bulgaria would move to Con. That means Romania can walk into Bulgaria. But to ensure that I do get Romania, I just went there with support. And pretty much because of the Greece idea that Turkey did not really fully trust Italy, and he knew that there is a chance for retreat and things like that, because, he had Romania, Trieste, and Budapest, so 3 units, right? And Bulgaria was not able to support Serbia with both Albania and Bulgaria supports. So Turkey knew he had to cover Greece, probably because Italy would otherwise retreat there. So he had to go Albania to Greece, and therefore Austria pretty much knew he's getting 2 builds right now. So that was known. So Austria knew that. I have no idea what possessed Turkey to offer Romania to Austria in the first place, because I kept telling him, hey, give me Romania and I'm good. But, he didn't trust me. He didn't want me in his ally. So somehow he decided to give 2 centers to Austria is much better than 1 to me. I sometimes don't understand the motivation. Like, I'm trying to be reasonable. In the retrospect, you can say, oh, he hoped Austria would not stab him. But why not? Austria had clear 2 builds. It was obvious to everybody. Like, Serbia and Bulgaria were his. So he did leak the information correctly, and he benefited, and he went up to 6, and he became, contestant, right? Because France was at 6, and Russia was at 6, and with Romania at 7. So Austria got back in a game. In the end game, he did not succeed, but right here, he built these 2 armies. So he's at 6. There's all these red armies in the middle, At this time,
yeah.
Oh my God, 6 red armies. What did I do? Why did I not kill him in all 3?
And so now we're in the spring 1907, and I was surprised. Well, go ahead. You explain what's happening in the north. This position holds forever in Scandinavia, right? You get, you never really have any pressure up there anymore. But tell me what's going on. Read the board for me, and tell me about the negotiations.
Well, North, you summarized correctly. I had no intent to go anywhere because simply because I knew I have no power over FG. Actually, France, for whatever reason, was very quiet with me most of the game. He never suggested things until he needed my help. Like, when he needed me to attack Germany, he became a little bit more talkative, but I did not attack Germany. So I wasn't sure why. It's a winning tactic, so I suppose that's fine. But he offered me Edinburgh and offered whoever would be North Sea to convoy Norway there. I'm like, okay, great. Obviously, it never happened. And the pay was me keep attacking Turkey, which I was doing at that time. So obviously they lied. They can explain why they did that, because I, again, never requested it. So it's, again, it was offered to me and I passively accepted and never was given it. But I hold Norway and Sweden. Reason for that, simply to have 2 additional centers. As at that time it became clear that 10 would probably be winning. Like roughly, if you are 10 by 1910, you are in good shape. So that was my thought. And so having these 2 are basically 2 extra centers. Yes, I have 2 useless units in them, but in a way I knew they're relatively secure because Germany needs to ramp up significant shift to take them, and he was not ready to do that. I don't know why he kept going back and forth, but here you can see we arranged bounce in Prussia, and he went against me, which I understand. He's still with France. He trusts France more. He thought it would be more balancing about the game to attack and hold me. So he went against me here. And in Turkey, I tried very hard to make up with him after that last move. So basically, we arranged bounce in Smyrna, and I helped Turkey to hold Greece because I knew, based on the fact that Romania was tapped, and he never asked me to support whole Bulgaria, like Austria. So I knew that information, which I related to Turkey. So I knew that 90% chance that he will go, like Bulgaria to Greece with support, like what he did. And so to counter that, I told Turkey to go from Greece to Bulgaria with support, and he did that, and it preserved Greece for him. So that
built up some trust again with you with Turkey.
Yeah, to build up some trust that I'm fully on his side. Like I tried very hard to sort of play that role, which I meant to do. I meant to do it not to betray him, just simply to play for Turkey. Reason for that, let me say very quick. Austria became, he became true to his style. I'll play with whoever plays for me. Unfortunately for him, there were no free meat left. Like there were no free centers that I can say, hey, you know what, I'll give you Romania for whatever reason. So there was not so easy. And, he kept copying messages from me to Turkey. So I got really tired of that. And so here I decided that Turkey is a little bit, easier to deal with because he had more flexibility. Despite the fact I attacked him 2 times in this game, he was still talking to me and actually doing the moves. And you will see in 09, he did some good moves. I believe they were good. Humble may disagree.
Well, look at this move here. This is a great cooperation that will set up the downfall of Austria.
Well, yeah, we discussed that, and this convoy, I think you guys covered that potential Armenia to Bulgaria convoy. It was a terrible idea to do in the spring because Turkey and Austria could have kicked me out in the fall. Turkey, to give him credit, never pushed for the spring convoy. So he did agree to bounce in Smyrna, which we did, and then to keep it like I'm fighting, right? So to keep kind of the game, the scene that we are fighting. But then in the fall, idea was I get Bulgaria, and, he preserved Greece, and that's why he also decided to tap Albania. We debated what to do with Ionian. He sort of decided to tap Albania. That's okay. We had, in fact, it could have worked if not. If you see here, Albania went to Greece. If it was other way around, Romania could have gotten to Serbia. Do you see this? Because Albania cut support from Greece, but Greece was supporting Romania to Serbia. So I could have gotten 2 builds here. Except unfortunately, Austria is a smart player, so he tapped Greece with Albania. I don't know what he was thinking, why he needs to do it, but it unfortunately prevented to take Serbia at this move. But it did not prevent his downfall in a way next year. But, it slowed me down, and it was not a great idea for me because here position such that of course, Turkey would want Bulgaria, right? Like as you go next one.
Sure, but how worried are you about Germany's moves right now? I mean, it's a little strange, but I mean, he's obviously now got an army in Prussia and Silesia. Are you thinking the attack on Warsaw is coming? What's happening?
Yeah, I was
It's bad.
I mean, you know, in a way, I cannot do much about it. I can worry about it, but like here, it's something example. I don't have a choice, right? Like I can worry or I cannot worry. Nothing I can do about it because I needed to promptly kill Austria, and I could not defend Warsaw. Like because I have to decide something. I have to be decisive here. There's no time here to linger and support hold Warsaw or something like that. Like, yeah, I had to take certain risks. Unfortunately, you know, in this game, if you don't take risks, you cannot win. So you have to decide. So I decided to send Ukraine to Galicia as like, you know, at that time, because it wasn't clear for Austria I'm against him, right? And remember the spring move, I attacked Smyrna. So he was hoping I'm not going to attack Bulgaria. That's why I entered Galicia unopposed. He thought I probably would defend Warsaw or something like that. Yes, I knew that Warsaw is vulnerable, but I also knew that Germany, like I learned in the course of the games, that Germany is obsessed with equilibrium. So he wanted to be balanced map. And that was somehow obsession of his. So with this knowledge, I knew that he will not ramp up full-blown attack on me. Likely it will not happen. And so I was hoping that at most I lose Warsaw and, you know, kind of will be able to slow him down. And with hopefully with the build I made, which I made an army, send it to Livonia to kind of cover that defensive position, I was hoping that it will, you know, prevent him from ramping up like huge attack and also opening from France. I have no idea what possessed Germany. To be honest, quickly to summarize, why did he let France and North Sea? Because we discussed at length. I said, yeah, it's a great idea for Germany to control North Sea. Like I'm not opposed to it. Yes, sure, you can convoy me to Edinburgh, but you know what? Take it. I don't need it. Like I told Germany, take Edinburgh. It's yours. You know, all of that was offered. Of course, he never listened to me. Of course, he did something else. I don't know. I would be glad to hear it. I don't know if he already told you or not. I mean, I know France explained that he told Germany that it's a great idea if Russia and France connected, and that would create some options. I have no idea what options he meant. Like why France and North Sea is a great idea for Germany, I still do not understand. And you know, I tried to understand and I still don't. So with that in mind, I was only able to hope that at the very end, I will create a situation such that I did not make any one of those two players mad and one would make the other mad. It's actually almost worked as you see in 1910 when Germany got betrayed by France and he led to have Denmark. So that was exactly my plan, that I stay quiet, you know, not making anybody mad, kind of peaceful, and see what's going on. You know, that almost worked. So
why don't you order a support of Sweden here?
Because the logic, Umbel, I think, told it correctly. If France were going to help Germany, I have no way of saving Scandinavia. So if that's happening, I lost it anyway. And Germany, again, I had to take some risks. I wanted to make sure 100% to send him a message that attacking, full-blown attack on Russia, it's a terrible, terrible idea. In order for that to work, I needed to solidify Livonia and Warsaw front. To make sure it's 100%, I needed to cut support from Baltic because I thought he will go Prussia to Livonia with Baltic support. So I decided it's worth that risk to solidify the position and to send a clear message that he has nothing to do by attacking me in my homeland. Maybe he can take Scandinavia, that's his choice, but I wanted to send super clear and loud message, and I hope I did that.
Okay. When we get to the fall of 1908, so I'd like to know, as you press your advantage, tell me about Turkey going to, well, I'm going to mispronounce it, but Sevastopol.
Yeah. Well, of course, he lied and went there. I mean, in retrospect, if I knew that, of course, I would have tried to cover it with Ukraine. Again, unfortunately, well, again, My only mistake, if you really think about it, I said it's to order in 1910, not to order Galicia, Budapest. But if you go to nitty-gritty details here, I am thankful to Turkey to be open-minded. Look at the interaction we did here. We did great.
He supports you into Budapest.
Yes, he does. He does, and he does support me to Budapest. And we actually do pretty good job here to reducing Austria by -2, right? So we got Budapest and we got and we got 3. Yeah, I guess -1, right? So I already forgot. Right. -1, yeah, because later we take the other 2. Yes, next year I take Vienna and Trieste. So basically, I'm thankful he at least fulfilled the important part, like because idea here is like this, right? None of us can win if Austria is alive. Russia or Turkey have to control Austrian lands. That's the main message here. We both knew that, and we worked really hard to make that happen. Yes, he took Sevastopol. That's fine. In retrospect, I could have covered it. I didn't, because again, I also did not, because here's the double. It's like, catch-22, right? If I were to...
You want Vienna. You wanted to take Vienna afterwards.
Well, Vienna, yeah, but the way also you can think about it, if I were to cover Sevastopol, but he didn't go there, that would have kind of ruined our relationship. You know what I mean? Because if he went Black Sea to Con, what he told me basically, he would go to Con. He said he thought about it real hard, blah, 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 and he will go to Con. So if he were truly to go to Con and I went Ukraine to Sevastopol, that would have been real bad for the last 2 years. Like, just I can see. So that's why I had to risk to let him have Sevastopol, and hopefully I was still in the game. Even without that center, I was still in the game. And he wanted to be somehow in the game, and I had to let him be there. So that was okay for me. Good risk to take. I would have preferred if he would have said, I'm taking it, because I would still let him take it.
And now Germany and France are against each other, and this is what you've been waiting for the whole game with your patience.
Yes, that's true. Although, as you correctly commented in the podcast, Germany waited until France built his 2 armies. I have no idea what possessed him all game not to attack France when he was open. And of course, once France became defensively very well, he all of a sudden decided to, well, of course, it's France who attacked him probably. But point being, he missed his chance. He let him in North Sea. Yes, he still had chances to win, but I think Germany went from decent winning position to lower chance winning position, probably after Russia and France by 1910. So I don't know if it was great. Perhaps he would argue that he still had chances. After all, 4 countries had decent chances to win the game before the last move. So maybe he would say, you know what, I did everything right. It just Turkey didn't support me to Trieste in last move. I will buy that. That's okay. I still think letting France in North Sea and waiting until he builds his 2 armies was a mistake. But that's my opinion. But since you're asking my opinion now, I think I'm entitled to say that. But yes,
you are.
So I think.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We got it. We have to move on a little bit, Sergey. All right. So, Max, sorry. All right. So here we are in spring 1909. Tell us, Turkey is on the attack.
Well, I mean, Turkey told me, many years ago in this game, he will try for a win, even if it's like 0.01% chance. So I knew that he will move like that. We tried to negotiate. So important part that he would support me to Trieste. I think, yes. So Serbia will support Albania to Trieste in the fall. And that was all arranged. Yes, he kicked me out. It wasn't arranged. Romania stuff, wasn't arranged. But in the fall, we discussed at length. And let me just quickly say here, Ambal said something about Turkey was supposed to attack me to take 3. I disagree with him on this. And the reason being, why would I then not just help Germany? Help not by letting him win, but basically removing my North units in a way that Germany can take Warsaw, the next move walk into Moscow and St. Petersburg, and take Sweden. So that's 4 centers. why would I not do that? Like, I mean, because I would be out of, sort of out of chances to win. And why would I not help Germany? Like, why does he think I'm supposed to help Turkey if he would have betrayed me here? So Turkey preserved his chances. Yes, he probably didn't have to support me to Trieste, but that's the only one I would, question. I'm thankful Turkey did, and I'm also thankful Germany did not take Warsaw. That's again something you have to take risks, and I took some risks here, and that created pretty good position, I thought, for me for 1910. And yes.
What is your explanation, other than Germany wanted to keep balance of power, that he did not move to Warsaw? What magic did you have on him here?
I don't think it was a magic. I think Germany did not realize that Turkey would support me to Trieste. So he did not know that I will come out of that with 9. So that was my sort of small, dirty little secret. Like, I preserved that I will take Vienna and Trieste. I knew that, and I suppose Turkey knew. I'm not sure, but of course, you don't need to be Nostradamus to understand that I will go Budapest to Vienna and Romania to Budapest to bounce. And basically that if Turkey supports with Serbia, that should give me 9, unless, of course, Austria just supports Holt himself, which he did not do, because Austria at that time was mad at me. See, unfortunately for me, after England betrayal, I had to scramble really hard and work with whoever I can, and that made me really kind of unreliable player. It's not who I am at all in most of the games. So I was sort of trying to stay in the game, and Austria became really mad at me because I betrayed him next time, but he never offered anything useful. So he came at 6, he was out of meat, and he was out of any suggestions. So I decided to side with Turkey, and it proven to be correct. So we here basically minimized Austria. Turkey, big debate was, why did he not attack me for more centers here? We can listen to him, but I think he made the correct decision here overall, maybe except for supporting me to Trieste. But Germany probably did not know that, and so he wanted to keep me at 8. Just so that I'm in a game, kind of balance idea. I mean, I'm not sure why he was sitting, because he could have just probably went to Munich and then to Tyrolia earlier to have influence there if he wanted to have like influence in a final year. But, in a way, he had that in 1910 anyway, so we can move on.
All right. So we go to the spring and everybody's scrambling for position in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, if you drop, of course, that misorder from France earlier when he allowed Germany in Burgundy, right? If you don't discuss that, Germany here was betrayed by France. Whatever they agreed on, I think agreement was North Sea will go to Skagerrak to have influence on Scandinavia, and I think the idea was that Brest would not go to English Channel. I don't know. It's funny that Germany thought France would fulfill that. I don't understand why would you think that can be fulfilled, because Germany have no way of preventing it. And also it's last move. Of course, France would go for a win. So it's worked for me in a way that Germany got mad and he was willing to give me Denmark. So that basically was my goal, and it worked well. Because Germany reduced if you think here, London is lost and Belgium is also lost in a way that Germany cannot take it. So Germany's only chance to win was lie to me about giving Denmark and taking Sweden instead, but that would be 8. And then he needed support from Turkey to Trieste. I'm assuming Turkey, being try-hard winner, did not like to let Germany win. Therefore, he rejected support to Trieste right from the back. Therefore, Germany, not wanting France to win, letting me Denmark, gives me to 10, unless, of course, Turkey betrays me.
Yeah, tell me what you are thinking. Tell me, in the hours before adjudication, what you're trying to accomplish before we look at the moves.
Yeah, unfortunately, I confess that was super busy time for me at work, and I made critical mistake to not cover Budapest in the last move for the reason of I believe Turkey had no chance to win. Okay, mathematically 0.01% chance, because by that time it was clear to me that he was captain meme, meaning he would lose tiebreaker to everybody. And so he needed 10 and anybody else to stay at 9. If he drops the Greece idea, that Ionian to Greece, basically if France is at 9, he needed 10. So he could get to Rome, that's 1. He could get to Budapest, how he did, so that's another 1. So that's 9. So basically it came down to, if Germany supports him to Trieste, he can win. But the funny thing is, if Germany wants Turkey as a winner, Russia is out of contest anyway, because then he wouldn't give me Denmark, and therefore Russia would never win anyway. So I did not really care about that possibility, because I knew if Germany wants Turkey as a winner, Germany can make it happen without asking me, France, or whoever else. So clearly I had no control over it, so I did not worry about it. But I'm assuming Turkey knew that Germany did not agree to support him to Trieste. So therefore, going like what he did here, Albania to Trieste with support from Austria, who decided to hate me until the end game, was futile, unless Germany decided to support him or tap Vienna. Again, if Germany rejected in a letter, there was literally zero chance for that to happen. And therefore, I misjudged, and I thought that there is possibility Ionian to Greece or whatever, something else. I just went for the safe win, basically. Totally my mistake. I accept all blame. You can call me an idiot for that, but I
don't.
Well, it would be fair.
I just don't understand how you think Romania would have succeeded.
Romania would have succeeded because that was arranged with Turkey. So he said he would go Romania to Sevastopol, and that by supporting these two, that would fail, and Galicia would enter Romania with support from Sevastopol. Do you understand? If he would have ordered...
yeah. He's telling you need 10 to win, and I'll get you your 10.
11. Because
11.
Because if Ionian goes to Greece, for example, or actually idea was Italy...
11 because you were going to get Denmark. You were going to get 10 with Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark and Romania. So I just miscalculated Turkey's, sort of trying for win even when there is zero chance. So basically he's the player who would, basically crush his head on a, really Durasteel wall, so to speak, and still keep trying until death, trying to break that Durasteel wall in front of him. I just did not know him enough to understand that. So now I know the personality. That will not work next time. But of course, I'll make many other mistakes on the next game. But totally my own fault. I am very happy that I stayed in the game. I would say again, like Captain Meme is a really flexible player. I really enjoyed playing with him, because where you think it was maybe mistake supporting me to Trieste, I thought it shows some greatness of mind, because he sneaked into Sevastopol earlier while supporting me elsewhere. It shows good flexibility and good strategic thinking about the game. You can take centers from your ally while still supporting him elsewhere. That is very important skill to possess. And, maybe it wasn't clear here. He really possessed it the most in this game. So I was actually, it's as funny as it is, I would have probably preferred Turkey to win over France, because France did not impress me with anything, so to speak. Well, except that he won the game. But, his communication with Russia was surprisingly poor, which, not to say that it's a criticism, but, nothing would have possessed me to help France win here at the end. And, he won despite, like Germany didn't want France to win. Italy did not want France to win. Turkey didn't want France to win, but somehow he still won. So perhaps that shows additional greatness of mind, but it was not revealed to me in this game. So I'm looking forward, maybe it will be revealed in the next game.
Well, there's season 5 coming up. Do you intend to play?
I do, yeah, for the classic. I probably won't play this, like, not Civil War, whatever it's called, Cold War games, because the duels, there were other maps on the Russian community we played before. They are limited. To me, they're kind of limited in, skill. That 7-player game is really about players. Like, you kind of you have to learn personality a little bit in game and adjust to them. As a 2 games, it's simply like, you can play like Austria against France, those kind of like duel maps, and Italy against Germany. I participated sometimes. If you want to brush up on your sort of tactic, that's a good method, but it's not the diplomacy what we like. It's not the same as this classical good old diplomacy. So I don't really play in those ones, but I think it's a good idea to diversify, but I'm mostly interested in this kind of map.
Well, thank you so much, Max, for going over the game with us and giving us such extraordinary detail. And your recall is very impressive and intimidating to someone like me that you could remember so much. I know you lived this game, but you showed why you did so well. Your ability to think strategically and socially is quite impressive. And we appreciate you being on the podcast. And this will be up sometime this week so everyone can hear your thoughts. Thanks you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.